Know Nothing by Molly Brodak. In the bottom of a rowboat I awoke aweless, a flap of shadow overhead, a sharp bark. No life vest, no reed trap, nap worn, studying the shore for motion. Maybe help. First willows, then sycamore, grotesque oak, and then all of it, the glassy mine of nature, blank to suffering, blank to luck. The hot felt of sun like the first bald fact to render us to each other. I knew I would drift until I hit. I listened to the huge stone of my old self.
Uduasha City, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow, where dancers cavort in forbidden operas, making love to forgetting and flame, where the wealthy play at war with silver swords and silken sashes, where the people mine the dead heart of a burning star for cannonballs and pipework, and where 1,000 secrets hide in a forest of paper and ink. Here, the 5 keybearers reside, the 5 who know the secrets of the broken gates of death. 5. 5 only. There is no 6th spire, forlorn and forgotten in the desert. There is no one who looks to the displaced, the poor and destitute and landless, whose ancestry has been stripped from them by foreign looms and foreign sparkcraft, and no one has ever heard of the House of Endings. But this is their story. Their roots pulled up and burned, they stand in filth up to their necks, and that is precisely why they must keep their heads ever high. Welcome to Uduasha, immigrant. May it fear the name of the house you will build. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about characters with their identities in peril, played by an international cast devoted to fiction-first gaming, collaborative world-building, and complex character drama. Welcome back to Desperate Attune, everyone, and this session after we have stolen a bunch of food, which is what we did last session. Last episode of this podcast, this show, saw a food crisis in Uduasha, and our crew, the Rising Moon Sword School, setting out to procure a bunch of food for the starving people by hitting one of the farming families in Uduasha, the Bittergourd Bakshis. This saw them get in trouble not only with the Bidrohi Bakshis themselves, but with their backers at the Majesty Bank, who were planning to make lots of money on predatory pricing during a food crisis. And the food shortage in Uduasha has continued, but our crew is now in downtime, needing to rest and recuperate, having for the moment at least soothed this acute shortage, both among themselves and among the community. Tree is running a little late today, so Tree will join us in a moment, hopefully. But with me right now are Klow. Hello.
Hello, Prince.
Hello. Aadiyat.
Hello.
And Salty.
Hello.
You will notice I did not say hello to the audience. I said hello to Prince.
Yes.
And only Prince.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Well, I say hello to the audience and nobody else. Counted.
Very good. So, half a hello to you, the audience, and half a hello to me. And you never say hello to yourself. People should do that more. Anywho, we will see if Tree turns up today or not. And if Tree does turn up, maybe this won't make the edit. As I said, we have wrapped up our business during the last session. And we are now moving on to a relatively peaceful downtime in the crew's oversized, ostentatious lair, built like a massive hexagon in the center of the hospitality ghetto in the crowded district of Bunderwest. And the reason that we are in this huge hexagonal lair is, of course, that House Anserek are forcibly your landlords now and have built this big giant thing for you to live in. in order to extract rent. And also, subtly, in order to drive a wedge between you and the Kethrisi community, something which has so far not succeeded because you've used the big hexagonal building as a soup kitchen, basically. But it may still. And it is in this big hexagonal building that we will find our characters, and also, of course, where we will find our entanglement, because Bidrohi has a new gang. Bidrohi, in fact, has two gangs now. Partly the crew of Ramu's gang, and a crew of native Udwashan, or well, a ragtag gang of criminals, really.
Ragtag? No, they're decked out.
Decked out gang of criminals, yes, of course. Who, in the wake of this score in which they participated, have run off to celebrate somewhere in Bunderwest, a district with which they are not completely familiar.
Best way to get familiar.
Yes. So I'm just flagging that we have an entanglement hanging there. They are out and about somewhere in the hospitality ghetto.
Yeah, they're always
Getting
getting
in
entangled
trouble.
with things. My guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm indulgent. I'm a fond father.
Mm-hmm.
They're all older than me.
Yes. And also more experienced at being in prison. So there's that. But anyway, we will get to what that entanglement looks like in a minute. But first, what are our protagonists doing?
Well, I have much stress and level 2 harm. I should do something about that.
So your aim is to de-stress and heal.
Yes. My vice is lovers. And my level 2 harm is I took shrapnel damage. I feel like healing shrapnel damage should come first.
Yes, this is sensible. So who is picking the shrapnel out of you? Is it a doctor? Is it a lover? Uh-huh.
We got a guy.
We got a guy.
Yeah, he's Aaron. I was going to say he's someone's lover, but then I thought about it, and he's not.
Aaron is indeed very proficient at picking shrapnel out of people. And so I have a scene that I want this to lead into. But let us first establish that this is what Bidrohi is doing initially. Bidrohi's plan A is to get shrapnel picked out of his body, and then maybe go on a date. What about Clem? Golden-eyed Clementine. Where do we find you, and how does Clem generally feel about after this hit? You have long been like a person looking for a cause, right? And you've been with the crew for some time now, but I think maybe, at least in Clementine's case, this is one of the times where you can really see fighting for a cause having a tangible effect on a community, right? People were basically starving, people were not able to afford food, and now they are. So I just want to frame it in this context a little bit, like both where Clem is and their emotional state at the moment. And what they're doing, of course.
Yeah, I think this is certainly one of the first times that something Clem's done has benefited a community in such a obvious way. So I like to imagine that we've discussed this previously. They want to get in touch with this community. They want to have somewhere to live properly. So I think what we might see is them at Roots's blacksmiths explaining to Roots that they've been squatting in his supplier's shed this entire time, and suppose I should probably pay rent now, right? I don't know how long you've known, if you've known or whatever.
As in, you don't know if Woots has known that you're living in his shed?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, very good. You still have like lifestyle 0, so even after everything that's happened, you don't really make enough money to afford rent. But but sure, we can make this a short scene as well. But like I said, let's establish first where everyone is. So Mushfiq, I guess same deal with you. Where are you? What are you doing? And what is your emotional state really after everything that's happened?
Good question. So where Mushfiq also is stressed, 2 level 1 harms, so not as bad as everyone else.
Come get healed with me. We'll hang out with Aaron Pai.
Yeah, and emotionally, I think Mushfiq is kind of feeling a bit blank, where like he's been saying again and again how, once he finds his ustad, everything's gonna be fine, guys. Just gotta find this stuff. And now, well, that didn't work out. So I think maybe a bit of soul searching is needed. They'll just have to, happen over time. Nothing mechanical needed for that. The two level 1 harms are rattled and Van de Graaff generator hair. I'm not sure where I got that second one from.
I think this is a leftover from when you got electrocuted going after Jasper.
Okay, and the rattle I remember was from a long time ago. That was from the bat punching episode.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you still have those? That's in goddamn November.
Oh well, yeah, Mushfiq stuff is in the old set, so he does, it doesn't actually do anything.
Fair enough.
But now he's got two of these, so I guess it's time to see a hairdresser.
Yeah. Okay, so you're not going to Erin, you're going to a hairdresser to calm you down. I mean, it makes some sense.
It makes sense because he can comb his hair down, and then that'll be nice. It'll make him less rattled as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think this is a lovely idea and something that ties you to the community as well, because I'm imagining the Ketrisi immigrant community probably has a lot of these like tiny barber shops, right?
Yeah.
It's like one chair or two chairs in like a little room that's barely a room.
Okay, I am so ready for the scene where Mushfiq goes to a kindly little barber with a barbershop quartet who sings his problems away.
Okay, but then it seems we have two people healing. So knowing what is going on, it makes the most sense to start this scene with Clem and their discussion with Woots. You basically were approaching him and saying like, I don't know how long you've known or if you know. And I think Woots mumbles for a bit as you come into his shop. And then he says, well, no, wasn't really using that shed for much of anything, it's not the Anyway, some help with the money would be welcome, but and he looks at you with this, like, he has a tendency to talk to himself, he has a tendency to keep his inside thoughts, his inside words don't always stay on the inside, right? And he mumbles like, might be other ways you could help, but yeah, rent. And yeah, he looks sheepish about the whole affair, clearly uncomfortable talking about money with someone he gets along pretty well with, working with. And so instead he says, or we could, I could actually, employ you if you'd like, and then we can call the shed a benefit of the job.
I suppose gainful employment would be, gainful employment. I never really thought of myself as someone who could settle down, but yeah, I think that'd be nice. I was setting up something at the school, a workshop of a sort. I was wondering, you've got a small forge here, but maybe a, what did the Bidrohi call it? A franchising opportunity, I think he said. He's been reading a lot of those economical books and such, the pamphlets that the students throw away.
Yes, working, you or me or both of us working out of that big chunk of a house.
I suppose it is a big chunk, isn't it? Yeah. I was thinking it could be some sort of community centre. It's right in the centre of the community.
Well, then what would we do with this place? He gestures at his little forge.
I suppose you could rent it out. You'd still work here. You don't have to move everything over. Not at the bidding of the house.
I think it is worth doing some sort of role here if you're trying to persuade him. Well, it's up to you, right? If you're just hearing his opinions, that's one thing. But if you want to persuade him to do more actively help the crew out by working out of their workshop and being an asset to your workshop, then it's a role, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. I was thinking, I haven't broached this yet in terms of making this a clock, but no gates, no masters, making it a centre of the community for our lair.
So you're working on a project essentially not to improve your own stuff, but to make your lair more of a community center. Yeah? Reasonable. I think that this is a 10 clock because it's a big transformation. Like at the moment, I think Woots is pretty... Most people reason like him, right? It's that big, ugly chunk that House Ansurek built for you, which is, I guess, nice for you. But it'll take some... Mostly just because the idea of a community center in this fashion is so foreign to most people. I think a 10 clock is reasonable. But the benefit of it, of course, will be a really great thing for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think if we have a scene after this, we can also slightly reframe what it might mean mechanically. I have an idea.
Okay. Well, we can make it a 10 clock for now, and we can detail. It will sort of evolve as we work on this project, right? Down the line, we'll see where it ends up. But I think it's feasible, and I think the basic effect of it is just going to be a lot of goodwill from the community.
We need some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice.
Okay, so then I guess we're framing this as a fortune roll, working on this clock, and this roll will also represent, besides giving you ticks on the clock, how Woots feels about the whole affair.
And Woots is the community, of course.
Would it be a roll with tier? Would that be appropriate in this situation?
It could be tier or it could be consort, because he is a contact. Like, since the roll is doing two things at once, I see either working here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to push myself either way to get some stress up so I can go indulge in a bit.
Okay.
So, yeah. And he is my vice purveyor as well, so this is great for me. So I'm going to push myself and consort, because I think that makes sense for pushing yourself with it. Yeah. Cool.
I think basically this role will represent how much stuff he physically moves over to make available for the community. So if this goes really well, maybe Woots will just come over and be like, yes, I'm fine with lending my tools to whoever needs them.
Oh, let's see. It's a 5. That's good.
It's a 5. Yeah. So I think what you get here is neither unusual charity nor unusual skepticism. And Woots, you get 2 ticks on the clock, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And Woots taps his lips against his chin and he says, well, all right. So not quite employee, partners then?
Yeah, partners.
Oh,
Shake on it?
sure. I'm going to need a new sign, he says to himself as he shakes your hand. And this is apparently the top of mind priority for him. So already as he agrees with you, you can see him think about what to call it. And he goes like, Clementine and Woots, or Woots and Clementine. What sounds better?
Woods and 10.
A Woots in Tyne saves 9.
Yes. I guess that's the scene, but he will busy himself thinking about a sign. And you have made some progress. So what these 2 ticks mean, basically, is that he will start up shop in there, and he will do work for the community at like a favorable rate. But it is not yet the case, at least, that any Ketrici person can like walk in and borrow his stuff, which might be the case if you work on this a bit longer and get more of a sense of trust going.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Meanwhile, then, speaking of the community, I think it's interesting to pivot to Mushfiq after this, who is also hanging out in a part of the community. And this barber you go to, do you think that it is a person who was affected by the giant renovation project in Bundervest? Or do you think it's someone who's unaffected? That is to say, do you go to a barber who's been forced to move by your lair? Maybe even gotten moved to a better place, right? Or do you go a bit further away to someone who's completely unaffected?
I think it's more interesting to visit someone who is affected by what's been going on. So, do we know of anyone along those lines? Do we know a hairdresser?
We don't. We haven't established any barbers. No.
Bidrohi would know about things like this.
Of course I do.
Of course you do.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay, you do.
Concert fortune roll. Let's do it. His name is Havok Hamza.
Avok Hamza. Okay.
Yes. He is very cheap. He's very stylish. His signature move is to take a sword and press it against your scalp and then cut your hair with a hammer.
I beg your pardon.
I saw this on Twitter. There's this guy in some African country with a sword and a hammer, and that's how he cuts hair. That's what's going to happen to you.
So he has extravagant methods, I guess.
Yes, but not extravagant prices.
Yeah. And he has found himself in a new quarter. So Havok Hamza has been one of the staples of the community. He's done lots of stylish haircuts for Bidrohi and his friends. And I think this guy, he used to live quite near your lair before everything got remodeled. Because it's not just your lair. Like, they had to redo a bunch of other stuff nearby it a little bit haphazardly. So now he finds himself in... I think we find ourselves higher up in the hospitality ghetto. We've done a lot of down. So I think he's now, his barbershop is now up some very creaky, rickety stairs on like the third floor of a building that is only really 3 stories tall because it can sort of anchor itself to rock formations behind it, right? So it's like a very, it's got a nice view, but it's a somewhat precarious location.
I'm picturing something that's almost leaning over and it's lashed to the cliff with vines and like bolts.
Yeah, pretty much like that. And he has a few chairs. He's moved, but he's brought most of his loyal clients with him. And I think his clientele is mostly younger men or like younger people, right? It's more like Bidrohi's age. It's people who go here for the experience and for the stylish, fashionable haircuts. So it's not typically your speed. But Hamza himself is not like some teenager. And so we see him guide you to the chair and he goes, "So, you want it with a hammer or a good old-fashioned way with the scissors and the razor blade?"
He also does a thing with a candle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I guess he goes, or the thing with the candle.
Yeah, as I was saying, I think Mushfiq's normally unruly hair is, I mean, it's all sticking up. I guess he's essentially got almost like a perfectly like circular afro thing going on, right? And I think he looks himself in the mirror for a bit and he goes, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to use the hammer and chisel for this."
Ah, good, he says, and he like sharpens the sword on the hammer casually. There's like a sliding them against each other kind of deal, which he probably just does for show. And then he says, "So, what's your story? You're new here. Might be a little bit of the different than the usual gossip, or is this to impress someone?"
How can he not know Shirakatam?
Yeah. Oh, he probably does, but he doesn't know why Sherikatam is here.
No, but it's fine. Like if you ask what's your story, then Shankarabharanam can just look at him with haunted eyes and goes, "I've lost everything. This city has taken everything from me. My friends, my life, my humanity, and now the only man I thought I could count on. Would you like to know anything else?"
Yeah. I think he sharpens the sword in silence for a couple of moments, and we hear this like grinding of metal. This like and then he says, "Yeah, the city is a bitch, my friend. I'm sorry to hear it. Recent? Or have you been here long enough to really know her? The city, I mean."
I feel like there's more to know, and the more I know, the more I'll hate it.
Yeah. I agree she's strange, Udwasha, he says as he puts the sword to your hair and starts to work. I agree. She's fierce. She's cold. She doesn't care about you. And the boys and girls who come weeping here over cruel lovers, they don't really know the city. And yet, in a certain light, you have to love her, he says, and he gestures with the hammer out of the view of the artificial sun in the river. And I don't mean to say that's a good thing. I mean to say, she's a cold-hearted woman who treats you cruel, but sometimes you can't help yourself. Do you think you could leave?
Yeah, I think Mushfiq he just nods and grunts a bit like, yeah. I mean, Mushfiq doesn't know what was it, Haval Kamsa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there he goes. And you've been this your calling, or just what do you need to do to get by?
Oh, everything we do here we do to get by, but I'm afraid, well, the city's taken everything from me too. Not in the way it has from you. Her cruelty is unique with every person. But I've had 3 families. Didn't really work out for any of them. But such is life, my friend. Sometimes I think about leaving, but I don't know where else I could go. I don't know if there's anywhere else in the world that is a gentler lover than Uduasha.
And Mushfiq thinks about this and he goes, well, certainly not back home.
Yeah, he tilts the blade a little bit. And is Hamza Ketrisi, actually? That's an important question, Klow.
Oh, I figured he was because we're in the house. We're here, but yeah, he might not be.
Yeah, I also assumed he was, but not everyone in Bundervest is Ketrisi. Like, he's from an immigrant family, but I think he's been here long enough.
I think he's Acro-Ceruvian.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting. So he has like a mixed heritage.
Yep.
I think Mushfiq's remark makes sense either way. You know, like I think like most people who've left home, going back isn't really an option.
Yeah. He says, no, it's not. I don't know sometimes whether to blame the city for pulling us in and roping us down, or whether to thank her for being a place to rest, even if it's not the one we would have wanted, you know?
Maybe drawing on his Captain Mackerel persona a bit, and he says
Oh,
that you know,
God.
no, not in the voice. He just goes, "City is like a whirlpool. It draws everything in Eruvia towards it." Now, I've only ever seen it do that for the worse, but we're here. You know, we're here now in the center, and now maybe we can do something for the better.
He pauses, I think, and he says, not many people who come in here are idealists. You know, most people I give a haircut, they're just looking for the next set of arms to run into. They cry over the one that left them, and they think about the next one. Only the exceptionally tragic say, I can fix her, he says with a big grin.
And Bushwick goes, have you ever been so down that you've basically come out the other side? Like where to live you have no choice but to believe that something can be done?
I think I may have.
Yeah. I think that's where I am now. Maybe it's advanced depression.
Well, far be it from me to give you advice. I'm just here to give haircuts. But I've seen not that many stories like you, and even few that ended happy. But the ones that did end happy, well, mostly they involve the person in question getting laid, he says as he angles the sword.
Bushwick, I guess, his mind isn't typically geared towards that kind of thing, and he goes,
No.
yeah, and he goes, yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to do, in a manner of speaking.
Well, then you came to the right fellow, because your hair looks amazing, if I may say so myself. And he steps back, having like sculpted your hair to an elegant and handsome look. And I guess now is where you make your recovery roll.
He doesn't just step back. He uses his towel, and the towel creates a powerful gust of wind, and that blows the hair away. And that's how you see your
Uh-huh.
true hair.
Yes.
Hmm.
And of course, he shows you your reflection in the sword. Because why not?
He sculpted away everything that isn't the hairstyle.
Uh-huh.
Okay, how many dice am I rolling for this guy?
I don't know. I feel like Hamza is badass enough that I'm going to give him 2 dice now.
Oh, okay.
3 out of 2.
A 3 and a 2. So it's only a single tick, unfortunately.
It's alright.
Uh-huh. I think you're probably still a little bit frazzled. But I don't think it's due to the fault of the haircut. I think he gives you a nice haircut, you know?
Yeah. But it's a talk with the barber. Dark things come out, so yeah.
Yep. Makes sense. It's a project towards recovery. You can spend a coin if you want to roll again, or we can leave it at that for now.
It's fine. I mean, 2 level 1 harms, and with tough as it is, it's not really doing anything.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Working on that recovery clock. But it was a nice scene, I
Yeah,
think.
it was. Yeah.
Mhm.
I liked Hamza Havoc. Sorry, Havoc Hamza. Good man. Okay, while we're here, I think very quickly I can also just try to indulge Vice as well. And this doesn't need to be a scene, right? I just want to,
Grab a snack on the way back.
just grab some on the way back.
I think Hamza's barbershop is on top of a restaurant. Let's solve it that way. So you just pop downstairs for a snack when you're done.
Are you eating murukku?
Why not?
Yes, okay, the lovely.
Denture breaking snack.
You rolled a 6, so you clear almost all your stress. I think partly why this works is that the lovely scent has been rising and like tempting you the whole time you've been at the barber shop because it's right below you. So it's like built up your appetite in a suitable way.
All right.
And we see a brief cut of Mushfiq just sitting, eating his muruku, looking out over the view of the river.
Yeah, looking very handsome.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The undisturbed view of the river because there's no commerce on it.
Yeah. And finally, Bidrohi. So you are probably at your lair, right? You don't need to go to Aaron's. Or, well, it's an interesting question. Are you at Aaron's experimental underground steam-powered lab? Or are you just in your lair?
No, I'm at the boarding house. I've asked Aaron to come. By which I mean my mom won't let me leave.
That is how I wanted to set it up. So,
Mhm.
In fact, the scene I have in mind does not so much involve Aaron, who has been picking out scrap from your, like with tweezers, just taking metal physically out of your body, and then cleaning the wound with spirits, and then bandaging them. He's very meticulous, so this is a very slow process. And your mother has been in to check on you like 3 times, and she seems increasingly agitated each time. And it's become clear to you, right, that she's worried for you and she has something to say, but she doesn't know how to say it because she's not a fantastic communicator.
Ma, it's okay. Aaron Bhai is like part of the family.
Speaking of that, she says, and she sits down abruptly, like the 3rd time she checks in on you on a little stool. As Aaron is almost done, right? You can frame this as you getting up in a moment. But she sits down and she says, "About these new friends you made."
Oh, yeah, aren't they
Some
cool?
of them have been at the boarding house, some of them have eaten, and I assume you are covering their tab. They're good friends. Yes? They don't good enough not to have to pay?
Oh yeah, they were like they really took care of me, like, in the prison where, there wasn't really when you had to like punch people to get food. They did they Peter doesn't have a filter, so I think he just describes how they taught him to punch people.
Yeah. Her brows crease and she says, well,
So I owe them something.
Those who can afford pay, so those who can't afford eat. That's all fine. Community, punch people for food. I think she switches to like a deep Kethrisi dialect. Like you guys code switch a fair amount, right? And for now, she's been speaking to you in something that Aaron can understand.
Yeah.
And but she switches to deep Kethrisi and she just says, Are you trying to become like your father?
I suppose it's time for Bidrohi to use his deep Kethrisi voice, which is...
Uh-huh.
In what way, Ma?
Punching people for food, taking in people from prison. I never liked... Well, I learned to like Mona, but she spent time in prison too. All these behaviors, they're not like you. You're changing, and he wasn't. Rama was never even... And she switches back, I think, to Standard Harathi, and she looks at Aaron, and she just says, Go, I'll take care of the rest.
Thanks, Arin bhai. It'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
He gets up and he says, well, I must object to the... And then he gets physically ushered out of the room.
See, Arin bhai, he just like, he can't stay away. You know? Like when he loves someone, he can't stay away. Bidrohi says, this is not ironic. This is literally what he thinks Aaron is like.
Yeah. And she says, well, that may be, but he can't be here for this. I've seen how they look at you, Murad and Mona and Pilot, and they don't think of your father anymore. They see you. And he takes up the tweezers and she starts doing Aaron's work, like, because there's a little bit of shrapnel left, right? And she pulls out a hard piece of metal with quivering hands, almost not caring about hurting you. And she seems, very agitated.
I'll just roll to see how this healing is going, and then I will continue the scene. And a roll for Aaron. I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. He's done most of the work already, so...
It's a 5. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. So 2 ticks towards healing. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do another one while we're still in the scene, but I think Bidrohi says... So we're speaking Hadrati now, right?
No, I think now that you're alone, she's switching back to the dialect.
Okay. Ma, but like... What exactly is the problem that you're having? It sounds to me... But do you want me to... I don't know, just give up the sword and give up all that we're doing? Because like... I don't think it's possible to say because like in this dialect. So I think he'll just say, do you want me to give up the sword? Because I do not think it is possible to do what we are trying to do without succeeding at what my father tried to do.
There is a long moment of silence, and then she pulls out another piece. And then she says, quietly, very quietly and very concerned, but in privacy in this enormous stone house, she says, he isn't your father.
I am sorry, what?
Moss is not your half-sister. I'm sorry it was for your protection. But now I see you become like him, like a man I never loved. He's not... When I married him, I already had you. Feather Uncle is not your uncle.
Oh. So Uzra is my half-sister?
Yes. Yes. I cannot bear to see you become like the man he raised you and he took care of you and he protected you when you needed protecting. That is why.
Okay. Okay. I am glad. I'm glad. I am glad that I am not his son. I'm so glad. I'm so very glad. I think he's like holding his mother now. And I'm so glad that I am Sister Moss's full brother. And it does not matter to me that Uzra is my half sister. But Ma, did you see that if I am not his son, then I can't become like him, you know? And what he was, it's not just a guy with a sword who gets a bunch of immigrants together and tells them to defend themselves. That's like a type of guy, you know? Anyone could have been that. And like what made Ramu was, well, some good things, but mostly bad things. And I don't think that just because I take up the role that he left behind, because someone needs to. I don't think just because I take up that role, just because I become that type of guy, doesn't mean I become Ramu. Like I don't beat my students. I don't, if I had a son, I would not treat him the way he treated me. I am careful of things, or I try to be as careful as I can. And I'm not innocent. I know that I don't give time to the family as much as I could, and that these things that I'm doing do take a toll on you and on Nusra. And I think that's the way that I'm most like him. But I can't not. There's no other way except to give up the sword. And if I give up the sword, then there's no one. Do you think that we have please, Ma, tell me honestly. And if it's no, then if it's no and it's honest, that's fine. But I need to know. Don't you think that what we are doing, Ustad Saida, Mushfiq Bhai, sibling Clem, and what Sister Moss was doing with us, don't you think that that's been good?
It is good. It is good, but it shouldn't have to be you.
But it is me. And I mean, there's many meanings of this, but like a sword is like a cutting motion, right? Like when you make that cut, it happens, and there's a follow through and a momentum, and like what the sword leaves behind, that can't be undone. And of course, like I'm talking about swords because that's what we're talking about in the school. But it could be anything, right? That's just life. Like I've done it. I was in the position. Maybe someone else could have been, but it was me. And we can't undo it. Like we can't make those things not happen. The only thing is that I can quit, but I don't want to, and I don't think you want me to either. Not really.
I'm not done with your wounds. But it's right what you say. The gentlemen talk about warrior poets. I hoped you would be a poet. Maybe you can be both.
Yeah, and I think he's holding his mother in his. I know it must have been so hard for you to keep this secret.
I'm sorry to keep it from you. I had to keep it from you. You understand? She takes your face in her hands and she says, I couldn't have a second child cast into the wilderness.
No. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I think he starts to cry because he realizes that really nothing separated him from Moss and her fate except a lie. And I think there's something I definitely wanted to do with Moonlit later, but I think this scene doesn't continue. I'll just quickly roll my healing again, this time with her.
Let's wrap the scene. And we can take a step back here. I hope you're okay with this. It's
Yeah,
something
of
that
course.
I've been thinking about for a long time.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Uh-huh.
Nice. Thanks. I liked it. Fuck Ramo. Fuck that guy.
I thought you taking over his gang was like a perfect time to introduce this. Especially you getting like a prison gang of your own. So
Yeah. So I rolled my healing again, and I got another 2 ticks, so that I'm now lightly scarred, level 1 harm. I think that's fine.
and of course, an implication of this too is that you could have been thrown into the wilderness when it was done, but you were not.
Yes. And for this, I'm grateful. I think I'm going to compose a letter to Moss and send it to her. I don't know what that will be or how we're going to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
But she should know.
She should. Yeah, that's the scene. And you have spent your 2 downtime actions healing.
I have a third because I am calculating.
Uh-huh. What is your 3rd downtime action then?
Well, I want to go see Mumtaz. I think now the scene acquires even more power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's check in with everyone again to see what we're doing, in what order makes sense to do this. So let's also check in with... So Mushfiq has taken both his downtime action. Clem has only taken 1, though. So what else is Clem up to?
I also have to indulge my vice as well.
Is it possible to combine these somehow?
I mean, the setting up the workshop at the community center is a way for these scenes to be united, I suppose, if there is an encounter at the lair/community center. Because it feels like it naturally flows from Clem's last action that this kind of has to take place in the workshop, in the lair. Right.
Yeah. I mean, have you given Mumtaz a proper MTV cribs?
Tour of the place?
No, we have not. I mean, I think the main difference between MTV Cribs is that MTV Cribs is gloating and jubilant, whereas we're going to be slightly apologetic.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. That just makes it not American MTV Cribs.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be jubilant because, sick crib, but like at what cost?
Yeah. Okay, so if we want to make this a joint scene, then we have Mumtaz getting a tour over the lair as Clem is working, I suppose, in the workshop.
Yeah.
So tell me, Clem, what are you making at the moment? Are we seeing you like smithing as this is happening, or are we seeing you work on like related device things, right? Are you doing more quiet work, sanding something down, or making a handle or something, or what's the vibe?
I think the vibe is Woot said he wanted a new sign. That's what Clem's doing. So finishing, yeah.
Making a sign. Perfect. Oh yeah, and that actually, I guess, ties into your heraldry and ancestry thing. So a brief paint the scene question, because I think it's an awesome thing to have in it. What signs, what like messages are there in the sign that only Severosi can read? Like what sort of heraldry have you worked into it that means that people of Severosi heritage can see that this is a Severosi smith, and perhaps even like who you are?
Ooh. I think beyond part of it being forged with ancestral steel, there are I think there are flecks of other metals involved, so it almost looks from certain angles like the night sky.
Perfect. Yeah, so you can catch this from some angles and realize a Severosi smith works here, and maybe even read in the constellations like your lineage of teaching, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's master heraldry going on.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we see you do this very careful work of inlaying as Bidrohi and Mumtaz enter the workshop area. And yeah, Bidrohi, what's your vibe? What are you like touring around? Are you dressed for a cozy indoors date, or are you still in your flashy outdoors clothes? If you get what I mean, are you like dressed up, having come back from like a play and a restaurant date or something, or are you more this is a chill date at home vibe?
I think it's hey, come over. I haven't shown you the new place. Also, I found out a horrible thing about myself. Sort of vibe. It's not a real date as such.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you're not like
Therapy
dressed
session.
up to the nines.
No, just the sevens. Bare minimum, you know.
Yes.
Mm.
I think then, if that's the vibe of her coming over, like suddenly, I think she's still like a little bit in her stage clothes because she, wanted to be dressed up nice, but she doesn't have time to go home and change. So she's like pulled on some of the less obvious "I am in a play" clothes, but still like eye catching. So she is, as is wont for many opera performers, like very very colorful clothes, like red and yellow and flashy. And I think that's what stands out as you pass through the workshop area. Clem, I forget, Clem, have you even met Mumtaz before? Oh, yes, you have, briefly in the dressing room with Tamira,
Yes.
right?
And she stuck around.
Uh-huh.
But you had definitely been introduced at the party before that.
Mm.
Yeah, Bidrohi, how do you introduce the workshop area to her? I guess we'll
Yes,
start there.
I think it's been like flashing back a slight, but not like starting from like the beginning. I think Bidrohi has just been. I don't think he's like gotten to the bombshell yet about like his parentage, but like clearly there's something on his mind. And I think he's been unusually subdued as he's just been kind of like asking her about her play, asking her a lot of questions about herself. Usually he talks a mile a minute, right? Today he's just listening and he's just like taking her around and like I think we spent some time like looking at the soup kitchen, which I do want to linger on her reaction to that. Like, I think he's not like boasting or anything. He's just saying, "Oh yeah, we have a soup kitchen. We did a thing where we took a bunch of food as well. We've been having problems with that." He's just been stating it matter of factly.
Yeah, and I think she watches it with a certain amount of trepidation and curiosity, and then she just very casually, but I think you know her well enough, right, that this is not a truly casual question. She says, "Oh, took it, came over it. From where?"
There's this family in Gilly Gully. I don't know if you know much about them. They were called the Bittergourd Bakshis. And I think it's like leading her away.
She says, and there is this thing where she goes like, "Yes, okay, I may or may not have heard of them." That's how she plays it. But again, even though she is a con artist, you know her well enough that you can tell that she actually is quite familiar with them, it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just trying to play that off cool as if she's not.
Yeah, I think he files that away for later because he has plans with them, right? But like he's still a bit despondent, right? Well, he's very despondent actually, but he's still playing the polite host and he's like showing her around. And I think like as we head towards Clem, like I think the thing that I'm trying to stress to her, and this is me as Zoheb. I don't know Bidrohi is intentionally thinking about it. I don't think he's manipulative like that. But what I want her to start to see is that so the last time Bidrohi and Mumtaz had a conversation on screen, it was about how she is going to buy a mansion in where was it? Udaput? Something like that?
Ash Cloister. I think she wanted to stay in Ash Cloister. I think.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And talked about moving in and so on. And we had that scene where he imagined his life like that.
Yeah.
But now I think like he's showing her this big ostentatious like tiny palace that the demon houses have built, and he clearly doesn't like it. But like there's so much activity here. There's definitely no sign of like leaving, and people have been like hailing him, and he's been like polite and so on. People know him in this area. So I think like this is her first like encounter with him at his center of power.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of like seed that idea that maybe he's not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he shouldn't.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is when we head towards Clem. Not because there's anything particularly interesting about the workshop that she should see as such, but like, well, Mushfiq's not here. Saida Auntie is question mark. We'll catch up with that later, I guess. But sibling Clem's here. Let's say hi to sibling Clem.
Yeah, so let's see the workshop more, say hi to Clem. Which again, she knows Clem. She has a somewhat favorable impression of Clem, I think, because if I recall, Clem intervened to semi-save her from Tamira. So, yeah. And Mumtaz glides into the room and sees Clem working on a sign, of all things.
Mhm.
And she raises an eyebrow and says, like almost flirtatiously, but that's just how she talks a lot of the time. Like, ooh, what you got there?
A sign, clearly. You're dressed. Are you not worried about your clothes? It's a bit dirty in here. You look nice.
She looks a little amused at this, like, you're dressed commentary.
You're dressed?
Yeah,
With
she kind of
Bidrohi
looks
around?
down. She kind of looks down over herself and she goes, "Oh, don't worry, these aren't mine. I'm just borrowing them." And I think she genuinely goes like, "That means it's okay if they get dirty."
Mhm. All stage clothes must be properly seasoned, Bidrohi quips. But his heart is clearly not really in it.
Yeah. And I think she has picked up on this, your heart not really being in it by now. So she does look a little perplexed. She like tilts her head and she says, "It's funny, I keep seeing signs lately."
Yes, that is the point of them. You see them and you go, yes, this looks like somewhere to go and spend my money.
Mhm.
Business is booming then. Around Bundervest, I mean.
Sibling Clem, why are you making signs?
Oh, actually, you might be interested in this, Bidrohi. I was thinking we open up the compound a bit more, make something more community focused. Woots and I suppose we're going into a form of business together.
Oh. Okay.
Sit down.
Are you struggling with money, Sibling Clem?
Only so much as everyone else in this place struggles with money.
Mhm.
How's the sword? Did you like the inscription, Mumtaz?
She has definitely seen it, by the way.
Yeah.
So I draw it now a little bit. Not like all the way. I do the cool drawing where it's like halfway out.
Yeah. Yeah, she has seen it before. I think it's one of those things where she's seen it before and she doesn't even need to look at it to smile and say, "I do like it."
Sibling Clem does beautiful work. Even that sign is gorgeous.
I mean, I was looking for some amber, ideally, to really set it off, but it's a little bit more difficult here to find than I thought. So I've gone for something else. Yeah, I'm happy with it. It doesn't look too bad.
Didn't you guys have like some ember prop jewelry? Yes, Mom does.
He says, "Oh, yes, I can see if we can part with some of it, I guess. It is a beautiful sign, though. It looks like the stars. You don't see them very much in Ash Cloister, too many lanterns everywhere."
It's not a lot of lights in Bunderwest to get in the way.
No, you go up to that place near Falcon's Perch. You can see the stars fantastically from there.
"I'm familiar," she says, and I think she blushes a little because that's the make-out point. This has been established.
I think Bidrohi just gives a small smile, but is still looking at the sign.
Were you not looking at the stars then? And I think Clem cracks a smile at this. I'm mocking you, but it's friendly. It's friendly.
Yeah, I think she says, I find one looks less and less at the stars when one, well, is one." And she kind of tilts her head in a joke back because she is a rising star in the, she's becoming somewhat of a minor celebrity now.
Bidrohi was going to, if Bidrohi was in his better mood, he would have said something that I'm not going to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
but it involved the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So he's just looking at the sign, and then he says, "We're all like going places. Mumtaz, she was always so good. She always had the potential. But like in these past months, wow, I'm okay. So I'm making him sound like less. I don't know. Maybe like the voice I'm doing is like too insincere, but like his, he's not being insincere about this. He's genuinely being like, yeah, she's like, really growing. I'm so proud of her. I'm so lucky and all that. And like he really means it, even if it sounds a bit distracted. So I want to make sure the tone comes out right. So he says that, and he's looking at that sign, and then he says, and this community center that would really like, sibling Clem, you and I haven't really talked about this, and I think it's the sort of thing that maybe we should have talked all together about, like this community center idea. And there's a slight reproach there because obviously this does affect everyone. But then he just quickly adds, but I like it. I really like it because like Mumtaz, I mean, you've seen this place, and like we haven't really talked about it very much, but like this big ostentatious like building and all that, like okay, the previous place was a shithole, but it really hurt the community. Like they're making this for us and then forcing us to be here. Like we don't really want to be here, but now we have this building. And sibling time, like the idea of turning it into a community center, that's like really fucking cool. I really like that. But there's an obvious problem there, at least obvious to me, which is that we are currently here and like, we are a gang, right? Let's not beat about the bush. We are a gang. We're here for the community, but we're a gang and people have tried to kill us before. And like, if we go full community center and like turn it into something else, then like, it does interfere a little bit. How can we resolve?
Well, you're the ideas guy, Bidrohi. But I suppose he could always relocate elsewhere. You don't have to stay here just because it was the site where the Rising Moon was founded.
Honestly, this isn't really even the site. That site was like half a mile away. But like, now it's a laundry.
Well, we've got the tailor. Laundry might be a good place to hide out for a bit.
This is like stroking his chin. And I think this is a interesting moment for this to also rope in Mumtaz, because like if we're talking about relocating, and then we're talking about like we could go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And that ties into the thing that we were talking about with her.
Yeah. So she says, "Oh, but this is a beautiful place. You sure about not staying?"
I mean, we'll stay in some capacity. It's just like we won't like have all the stuff here and all the secret meetings and strategy meetings, But it'll still be ours.
Yeah, she says, "Secret meetings, strategy meetings. Sounds like Ash Cloister to me."
Beautiful things put my teeth on edge. Maybe not there. Gilly Gilly Gully was nice when we visited.
I think something of a frown passes over her face at the mentioning of Gilly Gilly Gully, and she slightly wrinkles her nose and she says, "If you don't mind your secret meetings being overshadowed by the scent of dung, maybe."
I think Bidrohi, who's still looking at that sign, says, Ash Cloister is like really cool. I love Ash Cloister. But this is the same for Gilly Gilly Gully. Smell Smell being either near nor there, which is like they're neither of them are Bunderwest. Neither of them are hospitality ghetto, you know. Neither of them are like little Kethris. And that's what we are all about, you know. Like and I think he is conscious of the fact that neither of the two people he's speaking to are Kethrisi. But he says, that's what we are all about at the end. You know, we are all whether we are Kethrisi or friends of Kethrisi, of the Kethrisi, we are here for the community. And like, we have to be here. I don't know, maybe that laundry place can relocate here. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, real estate is super hard to find in Little Kethris, you know?
There's something I don't understand, Bidrohi. If you're here for the community, why do you have to hide from them?
It's not for them. It's not from them that we have to hide. I mean, you know, everyone does something in private, right? And he says, looking at Mumtaz with a little bit of a smirk.
Yeah. And she says, but it's not like Kethrisi are incapable of espionage. And she just raises an eyebrow with the point of like, just because they speak the same language as you think you can trust them? Kind of feel in her face.
That's what she means. Now, of course, they're capable with espionage, right? Like, you know, we aren't a bunch of angels. We're just people. Just like, you know, the Severusi or people from Uduasha. Different, of course. We are like, got our own culture and all that. But like, we're just a bunch of guys. Sometimes we're good, sometimes we're bad. But someone's got to look out for us. It's not just me looking out for them, they're looking out for me, and that's how it works. And we leave this place for them so that we can have the community center. We still like oversee it, make sure that, you know, no one else takes it over and so on. And we have our other layer somewhere else. And we continue to like do the thing, you know, to protect the community. And all that kind of thing. And he says, you know, a little bit tired.
And she says, just like, well then, why does the secret lair have to be here if this is where the community center is anyway? Seems to me if you want secret meetings, you should get away from people who understand your language.
I see what she's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he looks at her. And I'm not sure how Clem's reacting to all of this or how much they're picking up. But I think he's looking at Mumtaz. And Clem should feel free to interject at any time. But he's going to say, yeah, but imagine this, Mumtaz. Imagine like your Kethrisi or... Okay, no, imagine, you know, let's say Uduasha, right? And Uduasha is like got its own thing going on. And like there are some guys who are like far away and it gestures northwards where the Imperial City is. There are some guys far away and they're like having their secret meetings in their own private language. And they're making decisions that, you know, I mean, Uduasha's still doing its own thing. Like, it's not like Uduasha has no authority and all that, but like they're taking care of Uduasha from over there in secret. I mean, I think Uduasha would have something to say about that, right? Like, and we don't want that. We don't want that. I mean, it can't be like we are all in the same room having all the conversations all this time. Like, there has to be privacy, you know. But like, we have to be here. We have to be part of the group.
Okay, I think what I want you to do here is to roll your indulge vice roll.
Yeah.
Simply to see how well this conversation with Mumtaz goes.
Okay.
Because this could turn up to be a rather stressful relationship talk and not a fun time. Or maybe it is a fun time and things go well. So I think it's a perfect time for a vice roll, actually.
Yeah. So I'm happy to reveal that I am angling for a breakup, but it doesn't have to be in this scene. And I'd like it to be amicable. I'd like it to be ideally, I'd like it to be a situation where two people are growing apart.
Yeah, I figured that's what you're angling for. I'm reading you, I'm following, but I think a vice roll here makes sense still because this is still the person you're.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because maybe it doesn't go amicably.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, it's a 4. That's not too bad.
Okay.
I am by Clem's fire. I claim Clem's fire.
Yes, you are by Clem's fire, and Clem, you might as well go ahead and make your vice roll in this moment because I think you are working on a sign and all of this heraldry and stuff, and there are people discussing heritage around you, so I think there is some symmetry here.
Mm.
So why not? And you roll a crit and
Yes.
overindulge.
I don't overindulge because I take one away from that.
Yeah, you're also by your fire. Nice.
Yeah, excellent. So, Bidrohi clears some stress, but not all stress.
6 stress.
Yeah. And I think what Mumtaz tells you is like, I understand your point, but people on the ground still navigate by the stars, and I'd rather not be on the ground. And I think the thing here that sneaks in a little bit, it's not that she has contempt for the little people or anything like that, but she doesn't want to be the little people, right? And I think that's something you can tell quite clearly about her.
Yeah.
In this moment.
And I think she knows that Bidrohi doesn't want to be the little people either. But like he's conflicted in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a follow-up to this, but I'm interested in seeing what Clem has to say. And I'm not pressuring. Maybe Clem doesn't have anything to say.
I think Clem puts down the sign from where they're sanding it, and you should be careful then. And I think her lips moved to say Tamura, but no, Mumtaz. You should be careful. Too much ambition. Well, you saw what happened to the falling star. You'll only end up cratered below the ground if you drive that too far.
Yeah, she smiles back at you very sweetly, and there is something distinctly Tamira shaped about her, I think, as she says, "Ooh, having a city built in my honor." And she's teasing, of course, but
I think Bidrohi, in the grand tradition of South Asian men who will one day become uncles, slaps his thigh really loudly and says, "Okay, all this conversation and so on, it's all cool. It's all good. I'm really glad that we are all, we are exchanging views and all that. And it's a slight mixture of like trying to diffuse the tension while also being irritated that there is tension. I think
very uncle behavior. Yes.
Yes. He just says, "I think it's it's we have that soup kitchen down there, and like it's not. No, we are calling it a soup kitchen, Mumtaz, but like food's really good, and like you just had your long performance, and how about we just like get some food from down there and like just hang out here. Clem, do you want to join us? Have you eaten? I can tell you haven't eaten."
No, I have eaten. What's the time?
Exactly. He names a time, which means you haven't eaten.
No, I should finish what I'm doing. Seems like you have a lot to discuss. I wouldn't want to get in the way of that.
Mm-hmm. I think Bidrohi really does want Clem to join, but if Clem doesn't want to join,
I mean, how does he communicate to Clem that please come join me?
Okay. I'm going to go full uncle. Now, sibling Clem, what are you doing? No, come. No, come. Sibling Clem, come on now. The work can wait.
I suppose I could
Working
eat.
time is working time, eating time is eating time. Oh god, what am I doing? I hate myself.
The Bidrohi to Abbas pipeline.
I spent some time with him.
That's where Bidrohi goes when we don't see him on screen. He's just hanging out.
Oh god. What have I become?
Embrace it.
hmm I think we go have food.
Mm-hmm. You go have food. Was there anything else you wanted to add to the scene?
I'm interested in turning the community center clock also into finding a new place clock. I don't know
Yeah,
if that
sure.
increases the size of it, but like I want it to be like we turn this into a community center and we also go somewhere else.
I feel like that's sort of built into. Let's call it like a relocating your lair kind of thing, right? Like relocating your lair, but in a very nice way that leaves a lot of useful stuff for other people. So I think it's fair to count that into the 10 clock.
Okay.
I don't think it's a problem. And are you working on this?
Yeah,
now?
I think I am. Salty, is it okay?
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Okay, it'll cost you some kind of resource because this is your 4th downtime action now.
Yeah, I got money.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I'll just How do I fictionally justify spending money on this problem?
No, I think in this case, if you're working on the community center, I think a very logical way to do is what your mother was saying earlier. The people who can pay, so the people who can't pay eat. That was what she said, right? So I think the logical way for you to do this here is actually like buy food for yourself and Clem and leave like a generous quote unquote tip / donation
Okay.
towards the whole idea of, keeping this place. Basically, a little bit giving the money, of course, but also establishing this culture of, right, pay it forward.
Mhm.
Like if
Okay.
you, who are a big shot, do the pay it forward thing, kind of establishing that this is a thing that is done at the community center, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Mhm.
Then I think I am spending 2 coin and doing 2 things, but they can be just really quickly back to back. So I do that. I guess I pay for quite a lot of people because there are a lot of hungry people. And I'm assuming this also takes care of the entanglement, or is that another thing?
The entanglement is another thing. I have a plan for that, and it's going to involve Mushfiq.
Okay, fine. Just
Oh,
wanted
boy.
to make sure.
Oh boy.
Oh boy! What the hell do I roll for this? For
I think tier
paying it forward.
makes
Okay.
straightforward sense, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
it's
reasonable.
about like what I'm imagining is your soup kitchen, as a lot of these soup kitchens are, right? It's like a soup kitchen / restaurant in the sense that people still go there and pay for a meal, but they do it to support the place and keep it open.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and
So
with that in mind, I think tier makes sense.
I'm rolling with tier with our friend against our friend. Well, with or against our friendly faction. So I think a river to my people applies. So this will be bumped up by 1.
Okay, cool.
Let's see what that is. It's 4,
The 4.
which is
So
equal to tier.
Yep. Yeah, well, in this case, we're rolling it as a long-term project. So it's 2 ticks, but then you bump it up because of your special ability. So it's 3 ticks, actually. So 3 more ticks towards the community center.
There we go. And as I've already committed to paying 1 more coin, what that involves is basically pay some bribes in Kagazarania. I don't know if you have any sort of bonus to this, but like paying some bribes in Kagazarania to, I don't know, get some location scouting and so on. Like, I don't know. No, not location scouting. That doesn't make sense in Kagazarania. Actually, it does. Basically, I'm paying people in Kagazarania, clerks and so on. I'm not personally doing it, but like I'm having guys talk to guys and all that. And they're going to be looking through the land lease agreements and so on to see if there's some place that could be spicy for us.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason I'm paying a bribe is not because it's illegal, but because that's what you have to do in Kagazarania. I think it's consort.
I think so too. You're consorting with one of the legal and professional experts that you recruit in such an area.
I'm going to take a bonus dice because I'm asking my good friend Al-Qadar Khatam to take point on this matter.
Okay, sure.
Seems like an Al-Qadar Khatam kind of thing to do. Oh, 6.
It's a 6.
Ooh.
Okay. So that means 3 more ticks towards the project.
Yes.
for scouting a suitable location. And you're scouting a suitable location in Bundervest. Yeah.
Yeah, in the ghetto, really. Should I just pay one more coin and turn that into a crit and just call it a day, or would Clem like to finish that off?
No, I mean, if you want to, it's fine.
I mean, I have an opportunity to do it, but it is your project. So I require your consent.
Yeah, if that's if you'd like to do that, it's fine with me.
All right. Okay. Let us just spend the money and just have it be done with. Al-Qadr Ankatham spends money like water.
Yes. We'll. I think why the money turning this into a crit matters, I think, is let's have Alcadar actually be useful for once, because he is a tremendous bullshitter. I think what will happen here is that the reason you spend money is you basically set up Alcadar to go out and have a very lovely dinner, like a very, very expensive and ostentatious dinner with someone who has land. And I think this is really his wheelhouse, right? This kind of like greasing the wheels. So I think this is why it works out. And we'll discuss a new location in a moment, I guess.
Okay.
Although I instantly think that a very funny place to locate it would be under Havoc Hamza's barbershop. But,
We know that Bundervest has their grotto as well.
yeah, that's true.
So there's plenty of underground places.
I don't know about living, downstream of a hair salon. Gonna.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of being underneath the river.
Yeah,
Cool.
the grotto is a cool location, actually. And the grotto is vacated as of season 1. So
Yeah.
the Skovlanders had it for a while, but they don't now. So.
And that's where we'll find Bahadur, because we know people love to hang glide underground.
Yes. Yes. I mean, that makes sense. He is the brave bat. But before we establish exactly where this location is, well, Bidrohi, you tell me this. You have gang trouble. So which one of your colorful prison friends do you think has gotten in trouble?
Fuck.
Is that one of their names?
Just fuck.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we did generate gang trouble, so it's all of them really, but I don't want all of them in a scene. So nominate someone you want to see colored in a little bit more.
I think it's Night Terror.
Night Terror, whose thing was... Okay, remind me of their pronouns and their shtick, then.
Me sweating as I try to remember.
Night Terror was the one, as I recall, who is trying to be a badass, but is not really.
Yes, he's like Ripon the Ripper's sidekick. Ripon the Ripper is, well, he presents like a serial killer, but he was just in for Traskford.
And Night Terror is the sidekick of the fake serial killer.
Yes.
Okay, and pronouns are he, him for Night Terror, or?
Was it? No, let's go with the she, her.
Okay.
I don't know. If this is inconsistent with last week, let's just say gender is inconsistent.
I had just expected you to write down things that matter, and if you didn't write it down, it probably doesn't matter. So.
I think it matters, but that doesn't mean I would write it down. Thank you for expecting it, though.
Okay, good. So, Night Terror is the person we are zooming in on. And so, Mushfiq, yeah, let's have this happen as you leave the barbershop. I think it's funny to have it back to back, or rather after you leave the restaurant.
Yeah.
So you have filled up, and you're, this is Bundervest. It's a very crowded quarter. It's still like the Kettersea area generally, because this is. But I'm imagining this place as we know that this barber was recommended because Bidrohi liked to go here with the young kids to get the coolest haircuts, and it's like a place for young fashionable people. So I think it's a little bit on the edge between districts. There's a lot of people from a lot of ethnicities come to Hamza's. And so, yeah, there is the sudden sound of a street brawl, which is not uncommon in Bundervest. And first of all, how does Mushfiq just react to this spontaneously? Does he try to avoid it? Does he intervene? Does he just stand there and watch it happen? Which is what most people do, I think. They just go wow, a fight, cool.
Oh, so Mushfiq sees this.
Yeah, there is a hubbub, a commotion breaking out as you're going out. There's some people are clashing. You don't know the details yet, right? But it doesn't seem to be a serious fight to the death. Just
Yeah, I think in that case, like Mushfiq probably has something to go, right? So he's got some snack in his hand, and he's casually chewing on it, and he approaches the kerfuffle to see what's going on. Like, anything? And it's craning his neck to see over the shoulders of the people who were there first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is when you see Night Terror, this person you like vaguely know, be like thrown out of a shop, probably, like down to the floor. And I think the shop that she's being thrown out of is I think it's like a shoemaker, like a cobbler place. Yeah, that makes sense. So she is thrown out, and then after her comes a sight, which is Jackal, the Skovlander gangster you hung out with last time, who steps out after her barefoot and kicks her in the ass, like as she falls down. Just goes like, "You think you can get away with?" And then she spots in the crowd Mushfiq watching it, and there's like a tense moment because she's attacking who she knows is a member of your gang.
How can I root for either of them? I love them both.
Uh-huh.
I mean, any friend of Bidrohi is a friend of Mushfiq's, right? And he goes, Nightmare, are you okay?
Yeah, I think she is about to talk, and then Jackal puts a foot on her and like presses her down into the street. And Jackal goes, "Listen here, you and I, your people, my people, we have an understanding, and that means no more stealing my damn shoes."
What would Mushfiq do in this?
Uh-huh.
I think Mushfiq is push people out of the way and ask questions later kind of guy. So he's gonna just try to he's just gonna push past the crowd, approach Jackal, and then just bodily cover her off like her.
Yeah, okay. He backs off, and remember, like Jackal, you made an unsteady alliance with her and the Bob before the last score, so she doesn't want to like start a serious fight, but she's clearly very irritated. So she is pushed, she staggers backwards. She's like either barefoot or wearing socks, but she doesn't have her shoes because someone took them. So she like stumbles backwards, looks irritably down at Night Terror, and you like pull her out of the dust, I suppose.
And then Mushfiq will, I think, address the aggressor here. I think he just glowers at Jackal and goes, "What the hell is going on here?" And also put on some shoes. This place is filthy.
You don't think I'm... What I'm doing is I'm here at... Oh, we established the name of the cobbler. It was Tumuchi, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, this is Tumuchi's place.
Any relationship to Tumdorji?
No.
No, okay. Bidrohi
no, of course
established
not.
sort of this.
Naturally.
So yes, this is the like fancy shoe store. I guess this makes sense. This is like, every district has the little fashion areas, and this is where the people go to get their shoes and their haircuts, and where they used to go to get Tumdurji, but alas no more. And she says, "You think I ain't hear about the shoes? I was going to try on a brand new pair. Okay, when someone comes up and starts fast talking me and starts making buddies with me about..." And then she realizes she shouldn't admit to like a crime in front of this crowd, but she makes a look at you. Last time when we hung out, and what happens? But that her friend makes off with my shoes, both my new ones and my old ones.
Okay. I think Mushfiq thinks about this for a while, and before just saying it, he looks down. Well, I guess what Night Terror's back up, right?
Yeah, Night Terror's back up.
Okay.
She's definitely been roughed up. Like
Yeah.
she's been shaken about, probably punched a little bit, thrown out, and then kicked in the ass. Fortunately, by a woman who's not wearing her usual heavy cowboy boots, so that helps.
Yeah, I think Mushfiq just looks at Night Terror and goes, "No. Stealing shoes again. Did Bidrohi put you up to this?"
Night Terror looks up at you and goes, "Remind me again of their edges and flaws, Bidrohi, just so I get this right."
Let's see what they were. Their edges are very stylish and
Mhm.
fearsome. Their flaws are savage and wild.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good. So, yeah, she looks up at you and she goes, Bidrohi. No, man. No, this. Well, he didn't put us up to his yet, but the shoes. And she
Mm.
like looks at you with a look of like, and I think it's fairly obvious to Mushfiq because you've seen like toughs in gangs before, right? This is they're
Mhm.
trying to prove themselves.
I mean, I wear exactly those shoes.
And it's not so much that she says this, but she mumbles a little bit at you. And from context, it's clear that they were going to steal them for Bidrohi to give him some cool shoes, because he's a cool guy, and
But
he
I have
set us
those
up with this
shoes.
amazing. He set us up with this amazing food score. Well, they haven't seen your entire wardrobe.
I showed them my entire wardrobe,
Okay, fair.
but they forgot. They forgot about it. It's fine.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Mhm.
Didn't Jackal say that they stole some shoes right then and there, like the new ones?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's accusing
okay.
them of stealing shoes, and Night Terror isn't outright admitting this to you, but I think it's clear from context that, yeah, she and Rip on the Ripper are here on a shoe heist to steal Bidrohi some nice new shoes.
I love them.
Okay, and Rip on the Ripper's made up with them, has he?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my
Uh-huh.
ribbon.
Ripping shoes straight off people's feet.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, let me think about this, because on the one hand, Mushfiq himself is very irresponsible, but on the other hand, he was kind of in the army. So
Yeah, and this is a bit of a delicate situation because you're supposed to have sort of a truce with the Skovlanders, and this does not look good. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think that Bushwick just raises an eyebrow when Nitro goes, and you didn't think to steal shoes from someone who isn't on our side?
Night Terror goes like, but that's why she wouldn't suspect anything, right?
And I think Bushwick then gestures at Jacqueline and goes, Is that what you think happened here?
She looks at him and she just says, all I know is that either you let me deal with that little thief, or you and Bidrohi owe me a damn fine pair of shoes, okay? And this is how I'm framing the, either make an example of them or pay some coin for their bad behavior. I think for once the typical entanglement description fits perfectly. You can get around it in some other ways, but I'm just flagging these are some ways to deal with this problem, right?
Okay, I think all right, Jackal. Sorry, Mushfiq's gotta go up to I think Emperor Jackal. A little less threatening this time, and try to put a arm over her shoulder and go, look, Jackal. Look, these guys are idiots. I don't know what they've been up to, but us fighting here in the streets, like there are people watching. This doesn't look good. People will talk. It's not good for the alliance. So, listen, I'll deal with the shoes, right? We'll get you back your shoes. Don't worry, I know where they're gonna take them. We'll have your shoes back. Why don't we let's take it down a notch now?
Yeah, and I think I'm not going to have this be a roll because I think the interesting thing here is for Jackal to just say, like, maybe you're right. You're right, doesn't look good for us to fight in public. Let me borrow a pair from one of my people, and I'll come with you, and we'll clear this whole situation out where the damn shoes have gone, which is going to be at your, what's people calling it? The big ugly chunk?
The community center.
Right. The community center. I'm increasingly imagining this hexagonal building in a brutalist style, just because how everyone calls it the big chunk. But
Heck and Chunker.
yes.
Chunkerino.
The big chungus.
Yes. And so, yeah, I think this is what's happening. I think you're bringing Jackal back to the community center as an interesting way to get people together. So everyone's done their free downtime actions, so it's free to you to spend coin on more downtime actions, but I think it's interesting to have to have Jackal come back to the community center for several reasons. If you're okay with it here.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if
Mhm.
I think if Jackal wants to go to the community center, then there isn't really any reason for or justification for Mushfiq to say no.
He's part of the community.
Yeah, if there's something else you want out of this scene, like calming her down without having to repay her, you can make it an action. But I think from her point of view, she wants to go there and she expects you as a crew to clear this situation up, right? And you haven't really talked since this unsteady alliance and doing a score together, so
Yeah, I'd say, like it's only fair for Jackal to get her shoes back.
fair.
And who wouldn't want to see more of Night Terror and Rip on the Ripper?
Yeah, fair enough. So then we're having a scene with Night Terror and Rip on the Ripper back at the lair. And also with Jackal.
You know, the fact that we may have to spend coin on this implies that we can't just give the shoes back, which implies that something happened to them on the way towards me.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. I think the reason you need to spend shoes on this also is that Jackal's not going to be satisfied with just getting her original pair of shoes back because she has been slighted, right? So it's like either you give me a nicer pair of shoes or you make damn sure this doesn't happen again. Because make an example of one of the gang members is the default consequence of this. So, but yes, okay. Do we have anything else set up before Jackal, Rippon, and Night Terror? Is there any other scene you want to happen?
I think this is fine.
Okay.
I'm good.
Then we'll chain it into it. Cool. Then I propose that we take a short break and then we get back to a scene in the lair, which everyone can be in. I think it's interesting if as many people are in it as possible. And then we'll do some boot leather diplomacy. Here close the doors to the house of endings. Those who dwell within are Zoheb, called Klow, Aadiyat, called Soap, Symmetry, called Tree, and Salty. I have been Prince, your host. Our city of Uduasha is based on Blades in the Dark by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions, with special thanks to Johnstone Metzger. Follow us on Twitter or support us on kofi.com/desperateattune. If you want to engage further with us, we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/desperateattune, where you will get our newsletter, extra content, and updates from Uduasha.
Next time on Desperate Attune.
I can leave your friend trapped here. In this time, with this body, and I can grant you a little respite. But I really only mean a little. I have the means to begin the end.
Curious, but I was wondering whether you might provide me a means to end this beginning. But I wondered whether you might know a way to change this demon's name, and by doing so change its very nature.
I can change it if you do not wish to be changed. Yes, that is within my power. But it is considerably harder and more taxing.
When have you known me to choose the easy path?